Yo, yo, what's going on, everybody? Back with another watch list. Sunday scan going into Monday, September 15th, tomorrow. Trying to open up a few pictures from last week, but for some reason, Discord's not opening. Anyways, I saw you guys last on Thursday going into Friday. Friday had a few trades. I know I traded air because I'm currently still in that one. But the goal was gap up parabolic from the watch list there on Thursday. We got the gap up, a little bit of a speed up there in pre-market. So right off the open, I was participating near the open, was leaning into these pops. We got hard crack. I was leaning into it, and it just wouldn't break lower. I was looking for those 130s to break down, and it wouldn't. So I covered it, locked in a small gain. Proactive covers saved that trade because then we got the real parabolic that I was looking for. I reacted into it, 170s, high 170s. I was top of this candle and up into this candle. I covered the pullback for an immediate 10 cents, and then we started getting some lower highs, so I started leaning into those using high a day as a guide, and I believe I covered and reshorted, but I'm just trying to get the exact executions because I think I was in and out a few times throughout here. So I just want to check. I know I was shorting into here, covered a couple times, shorted a couple times, and right around here, open, started to pull back and fade to $9. There we go. Took a while to open. There was updates or something on it. So I hammered it right here with decent size, and basically this 15-cent flush was 90% of the P&L just in that one candle. So I covered it. And then throughout the day, started putting a few pieces on and am swinging that overnight. This daily, the RSI is at 90. The 4 EMA is down near $1. So both of those in my book is extended. So first time this goes red, I think has a pullback. Let's see what I got here. Did I really not take a picture of that trade by the end of the day? I thought I saved. I guess I didn't save a picture. I just had my morning trades on it. Well, I guess I can pull that up. And that'll give an idea of the morning trades, and then it's weird. I thought I had put a picture in. Oh well. So I will open this one, and I will open this one. So screenshot here. That was the one in the morning. So I was leaning on it there throughout the morning, covered the flush, reshorted the pop, add. Was looking for that opening range breakdown. It held, so I covered, re-hit it, and it just wouldn't break down. So I covered, was all out. Was really happy with those proactive covers and was even happier with the parabolic. So I shorted, added, covered the pullback, shorted, and then scaled in. Used all of my borrows I had from that day. Covered, shorted versus highs a day, And then every entry was using High-A-Day as a risk. There wasn't any other level that I was looking to stop out on. So I was adding, covering the flush. We got a flush, sub VWAP fail under these prior support levels, and the 155s I felt was key. And for these few minutes, it wasn't reclaiming. So I started to scale in, but on that swipe, covered it and moved on. Put a few on again versus High-A-Day stop, and was letting that one work. And then this other picture, that was the only other one I had. But I had covered that little 160s, whatever, for small gain, maybe plus 5 cents. And then this was when open started to fail. So I just short, add, and then just reactive, proactive covers. And I had put that in my pod group and was like, was it this chart? Or was it this one? There we go. I had put that chart in my pod group with the proactive covers and like, what are you doing? It's finally starting to work. And it was right here on this candle. And I was like, those covers were for when it comes back to 160. And sure enough, a few minutes later, it was right back up there. So proactive covers were really key on this. Ended up being maybe a 2.5 hour trade. And then obviously started to short throughout here. Maybe that's why I didn't post it, because I was just doing it mobily while I was off desk. But I was short some in here, this pop, didn't short any here, and then shorted some more here, shorted some more here. Got to a decent position, probably risking about 2R off of those 160s and swinging, but I didn't want to get too oversized in the 140s because there's nothing saying that this has to gap down tomorrow. If this opens red, I'd look for pops using red to green as a guide. But in the event that it does gap up into prior day's resistance, I don't want to be emotional into the gap up and still want to be able to react to that and take a trade. The opportunity looks pretty good. So that'll be a main watch going into tomorrow. Keep tabs on open. If this one, air kind of disconnected from it, like open was steady lows while air was going a bit more sideways throughout the day. I thought it would have been a bit closer. This right here was when I slammed into air and it did start to follow. But it was weak. Open was weak throughout the day. Air didn't really reclaim. It wasn't like it was strong. It just wasn't as weak as I expected. So keep an eye here on open. See what this thing wants to do. No plan on it. This gap up wasn't extended enough for a fade for me. And there is no real breakout setup in my mind at this point. Lou, I'm still holding on to that one. Still up about 10 points. $10 a share on it. So we'll stop out flat, break even, or we'll continue to let the trade work. But so far has digested this breakout fairly well, and would like to see it start to push highs pretty soon. WLDS, wilds, stuffed over the prior breakout highs. Technically hasn't gone red. You had that gap up, close below the open, gap up, go, gap up, go. So it technically hasn't had a first red day. But you also do have volume dropping off the higher it goes. But into these 10 clear outs, looks like longs keep getting bagged. You can see the volume profile here. If this loses 9, I could see myself trying a short trade on it. You know, something like that. Don't hate the idea. What's going on, Tina, Jeff? How are you guys doing? Tesla's on an absolute tear. I wanted to join that one. That was the plan from the watch list, but I just didn't get the week open. It was strong and steady highs all morning. ARC, this daily's shaping up not bad. 79-ish breakout looks all right. It's kind of a big rounding bottom there on the daily, and it's finally starting to hold up. Did do something similar here and failed, so I'm just noting it as a setup, but I have no position. Those quantum names, if anyone took that IONQ idea right here on this day from this little flag break, up a nice 10 points on that one already. Rigetti had a really nice run, and the rest of the quantums following suit. QBTS, QUBT, all shaping up pretty nicely. Wolf did have good histories of backside moves, so I'm going to keep this one on watch if it starts to extend itself. Duo, this daily hasn't gone away. Multi-day run, pulling back and holding prior resistance, now becoming support, so I think that's notable. It's holding up pretty well. On Friday, it gapped above prior day's resistance and immediately failed, but if we can get back above prior day's highs, 380s, somewhere around there, I don't hate that as an early entry versus this 320s 3 stop. It's holding, my other chart here has it, but it's holding the 10-day. Yeah, you can see, I didn't even look at the volume profile, but you can just see where it's topped out a few times. And that's where key resistance has been. So if it can start to break and build like that. A couple other runners here from Friday on the cheapy side, but starting to run. Broke out here over 31 cents. Right through there. Not a ton of overhead resistance nearby. Quite a ways away, so it does definitely have room to run. Not a bad risk-reward setup. It pushed, pulled, market open was right around here. Broke through highs, consolidated, broke out. Low a day would have been, 26 cents through 31 cents, risking 5 cents on a trade like that. Nice volume coming into it. Hopefully that one starts to run. OPI, no breakout level, but same price range and same kind of trendy action. Keeping those on watch. And then Bros, this one here was a large cap, Dutch Bros Coffee. We don't have it in Canada, but for you Americans, you're probably very familiar with this company. They keep popping up everywhere down there. And the 200 SMA is surfing all these lows right here, right here, right here, and then we're touching it again. So if this loses this 63.70 spot, you've got this little bear flag breakdown, and then you've got this gap fill nearby into the 58s. So I like that for a possible fail. You've got chart support lining up with a nice big moving average. Looks all right. That one hasn't even broke out yet. Broke out of this flag, but not the big picture highs. QUBT kind of a laggard out of this rounding bottom. These dailies look really good. They're just, in the past, I've tried buying these things so many times, and they're so hard to hold and swing. M&R starting to perk, a little percolation. $50 lower high trigger doesn't look too bad there. I just didn't really like the tightness in particular on this one. remember shorten these nuclear names. They're right back to highs. SMR is still weak. And an E still weak. How's NBIS doing for that data center basket? Meh. UNH, I think, went on a decent run recently. Yeah. Pretty crazy move. That was the Berkshire Hathaway taking a stake. Digested that move pretty good. Yes, I probably got main 2 watches being Air, probably my main small cap watch. And then Bros, probably my main large cap watch. Keeping an eye on those percent gainers, see if that one wants to perk for an early entry. ARC looks all right. I don't know if I'm really going to take it. Tesla looking really good. GoPro. I don't hate this one. So I didn't play this little breakout here through the 180s, although we did get this finally higher high, higher low. So once we pushed and broke out back through these 170s, 180s, I don't hate the entry on this day, but you are still buying into a massive overhead resistance candle. What I think could work on GoPro is if open continues to extend itself, and it hasn't really blown off yet. We did have a little bit there on a range expansion day, but I wouldn't put it past this if it's gonna consolidate and do another leg higher. And the further that this extends itself and keeps pushing, push, pull, consolidate, push, pull, consolidate, and it stair steps higher and higher, higher. It's like a perpetual squeeze. Just shorts keep fueling it higher. Retail has no reason to sell, and it keeps going. And as this gets more and more expensive and people don't want to chase this, then they're like, oh yeah, remember GoPro ran with it last time? Maybe this one will start to go again. But now that it's getting a bit closer to this initial runs high, like we're within shooting distance now, like within 20 cents, 10%. So if this does want to start to move with open again, then I don't hate this this 230s breakout, because then you have like a clear skies. You're not buying into a lower high with daily resistance right overhead. Now it's not moving huge. Like a 180 to 220 isn't really a huge move. But you can also make the same case with open, where, 380 to 5 isn't a huge move, but eventually the short squeeze and the blow off really starts to come, and now it goes 5 to 11 in a day. So that could happen with GoPro. I'm not going to put it past it, and I'm definitely going to keep this daily on watch. The other few that went with it, you had Donut, and that one's just fading off near highs. OPAD, but that one's had some offerings. It's still holding up, but every push it tries into the 5s, it just keeps getting hammered. So I don't really love that one. GoPro's a bit smoother. Kiss kind of moved with it. You had Wendy's that kind of moved with it. But you can just see, looking at those charts, GoPro looks the most constructive. What's going on? Boyega. Any thoughts on Lace? Ran with the quantum stocks last year. Just as the quantum stocks in general, I find them a bit hard to trade. They're not super clean. Yeah, this would be the same thing. If you're buying it, you're trading it as a sector trade, but it's just got so much overhead resistance. Comparing this to something like IONQ that's breaking through 49s and making new all-time highs, or at least recent highs. Yeah, all-time highs. So IONQ pushes to all-time highs. You got Qubits. This one here is consolidating and pushing up to all-time highs. You got Qubit that hasn't broken out, but it's a lot closer to the highs. RGTI is a lot closer to the highs. So then comparing that to something like Lace, if this was consolidating up in the 8s and 9s, maybe there's a different story, but no real interest in it. More so would be interested in this sort of start going 3 to 350, 4 to 5, 5 to 8, and do like a little short into resistance when the sector pulls back. And knowing this one's the biggest dog crap company of them, and looking to lean on that. But no real plans on trading that one right now. WBD is a first red day. Warner Brothers is a real company. Looks like an earnings reaction or something to me. What kind of news is this up on? On September 11th, what kind of news did it have? Warner Bros. Warner Bros. Jump on takeover talk. Paramount. Yeah, so it's like buyout takeover news. Nothing I look to short on something like that. It's a real company, so that was the first red flag to me. It doesn't usually trade this kind of range. So that was the first red flag. It's a real company. I've heard of Warner Brothers. So unless I'm getting like breakdowns, look at that, hey? Wow, that's insane. I wonder what happened back there. But that's not really a catalyst I would look to short. If they do get bought out, then I get kind of stuck in the trade. And if it doesn't, then it probably reacts to the news, not really like a price action that you can trade. So I will likely just leave it be personally. What's up, Mike? I just find stuff like I've mentioned it a few times where I'm not going out looking for like trying to find a new setup or looking super hard to find a ticker that no one's mentioned. I want to trade stuff that people are trading, where there's volume, where there's range, and then looking to take my piece within that chart for wherever I find a small pocket of edge. So air, people are buying air in sympathy to open. It's trading hundreds of millions of shares. And when this gets overblown and runs from 40 cents to $1.80, I have a mean reversion set up that takes advantage of a pullback. When everyone's trading open and this starts to break out and build over 5, I have a breakout strategy that buys this and sells it within a few days. Same thing with GoPro, is setting up very similar to how open did right over here, where I wasn't looking to buy like this breakout, where this is kind of where I see GoPro at right now. But once it pushes, pulls, you can still buy. There's plenty of time for the next leg higher. And that's kind of where I see GoPro. It could fail, but if open continues pushing, then this one follows it and wait for a chart pattern. But something like Warner Brothers, I think that there's bigger players in there. I don't think as many people are trading it. And you're trading against real money. Like, I don't know what that news means. They're getting bought out. There's a bid out there. So that's just kind of my look on it. Other people probably have edge trading it. I don't really trade names with meaningful news. Large caps I trade are either trend join to the upside or trend join to the downside, and I've done a lot better with that on large caps. Look for bear flag breakdowns or bull flag breakouts. Something like Tesla through the 350s. Something like IONQ through the 49s. Something like Bros under the 63s. Stuff like that. Usually how I look at for large caps. But if you have edge, I'm not saying not to trade it. I just don't know how. Sounds good, Boyega. Happy to help. Yeah, and I I know it's like because for probably like a year and a half, like it was tough for me to try to risk more than 10 or 20 bucks on a trade. Like it would eat at me. I was afraid to push the button, and I didn't have any confidence that I was going to be right. I was like, why would I put any money at risk if I don't even know if I'm going to be right with any degree of certainty? And it took me a really long time. And as I started sizing up over the last few years, um, what I've started to realize is, like I say, by not looking for the random the the names without people's attention that everyone's not talking about. Something like air, for example, this is getting into A grade territory for me for a setup. Um, and I don't need to look too far past air, because if I short air well and I execute well with good risk reward and meaningful size, this is the only trade I need to make in a week if I want to make money next week. And if I lose on it, so be it. But then just look for the next A grade opportunity, the A grade setup. When I had a Jobby, this is the same setup right here that I'm looking to trade on Bros, where it breaks down under 14s. You get this bear flag breakdown, and the Jobby was a top, I don't know, top 3, top 5 trade. Open was probably a top 10 trade, from the 4s to the 6s, 7s. But like that's 2 trades in all of September. This one I guess started in October or August. But like that's 2 trades in the last 2 weeks. And it's been fine, like trading well. I thought Octo was going to be that one, new symbols orbs, but big front side move, multi-day pullback. I traded this one on Friday. I forgot to mention that now that I bring it up. But what we got was the first time it was gapping up and going green. So I took a loss on it. I think it was one of these days. I showed the trades on the live stream. But now this was the first time going green and gapping up. So I put a starter on here right around 9 a.m., as I sometimes do. And then we got a pullback, a higher low, and super tight consolidation. And I started buying here in the 15s and right through the 16s. I bought here and then put on like 3R risk versus low a day. I hit my hotkey a few times. And up here, I was up like 7.5 R up at the highs. But I was sized fairly well for the position. I was sized up. But that was just given the magnitude of what I deemed this setup to be. Clean front side move, clean backside fade, and the first time going green, breaking its opening range highs. That's what I want to see for an A grade setup. And to me, this looked like it had room back to like 30 bucks. So why am I selling at 19 if I think it can go to 30? And if I'm up 7R on a $3 move, then I'm up like 30R on a $15 move. So I sold like a fifth up into this parabolic because we did halt a couple times, I believe. So I was locking up here into the high 18s. We got this hard crack, and I didn't sell any yet. It pulled back sub VWAP, set a double bottom higher low. I added to this position to move my risk up to 1650s, and thought that if this wanted to sub VWAP trap like we go over on this on these broadcast or the live streams, if this sub VWAP traps and starts to trend, that's going to be a monster trade, because now I've locked in like maybe 1.5 R on that position, and now I'm risking to break even. So the worst I can do is make a small profit. And now I'm have more size than I did over here, and I was already risking like 3R versus low a day. So I sized up really big and swung on a miss. So it failed. I took it off. just above break even, and made about 2R on that trade. So it was still a winner, and it was one that didn't work. Obviously, in hindsight, you just wish I took off the big profit at the highs, but if I take it off at 19 and it runs to 30, I would have been a lot more frustrated than that. So I was really happy with how I stuck to my plan and executed that one well. But back to the same point and same topic, where you don't need a ton of trades to make a good living. And this was a A-grade setup. It fit all of my criteria, and it was just one that didn't work. But if that one does play out and I make 30R on a bounce back, I don't have to trade for a little while. I can be patient, and something like Air could do that. Something like Bros could do that, where if this breaks down 63.70s and I've got a tight risk versus highs, and I can make $3 or $4 a share, risking maybe 50 cents, there's a 5-6R trade that could make your week. So that's how I like to look at these, and I've taken that approach lately, where I'm not taking, I still take the 1R trades, but when something like Air comes and I can short the parabolic and use all the borrows I borrowed on that day, and I'm risking like 5R into that parabolic and can cover the pull, I stop out a couple times, but I'm still overall green on it, just because it wasn't even a trade that rolled over red, and I'm still up 2.5, 3R on it. So 2 attempts on Friday. Feel like it's the best runner we've had in a bit. Just didn't want to break down. Anxious for tomorrow. Yeah, careful being anxious, because I remember doing that on FFIE way back when, and I was trading this thing at 1 a.m. On this day, I believe, was when it gapped up to $1, I think. Or it ran from 4 cents to $1, and I was like, okay, this is going gap to gap to gap. This is A+ territory, and I was up at 1 a.m. my time trading this all morning from 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. I think I still ended green on it. I didn't lose on this one on the front side, but I didn't make much, and then I was a bit fearful that I was wrong by the time it actually pulled back and kind of minimized it. But that was just being anxious and afraid of missing it. But you can see once it pulls back, you even get rewarded with the gap up, and look at all this meat in the bone. So just cautious being anxious. I've definitely been there. But yeah, Air, if you weren't trading the edges, like as in the chart, not so much like your personal edge, but the edge of the chart, where if you're not shorting pops, covering dips, I don't think this was a super easy trade. You saw my executions at the beginning of this live, where I was shorting pops, but I was also proactive into those 130s. And same thing here. I short the parabolic, and I'm proactive back into the 160s. I can always rescale, but then I'm covering along the way. These ads, in hindsight, they don't look so good, but if this was hard crack, rolled over versus VWAP and got ugly, then those ads would have paid off. But same thing here. Add, flushes out 15 cents, get that cover order in. So, yeah, it was tough. I wouldn't say it was an easy trade. If you weren't shorting the pop, covering the dip, shorting the pop, covering the dip. If you were shorting the dip, looking for the rollover, it was fairly stubborn and was holding this like 140-ish level. So if we're gapping down sub 140s, I'd look for shoves back into that level, like it's this prior support where it flushed out, flushed under, reclaim, flushed under, reclaim, flushed under, reclaim. So that 140 over under would be that key area. But yeah, we don't have too many of these multi-day runners. So I think that's a good chat. We can probably leave it off on that note. Main watches for me, Air and Bros. And then some of those back burner watches. Keep eyes on Lou, my other swing, Open, and its sympathies with GoPro. Maybe Duo if that thing starts to shape up. And some of those other runners, maybe they extend themselves and we get something like this. But main 2 watches go into tomorrow. So I will leave it off there. Feel free to watch the replay if you didn't catch it right away. I know I hopped on here a bit earlier, but sometimes on Sundays I can hop on. So Take it easy, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I will catch those of you in Investors Underground in the morning. Peace.